Afternoon. My name is David Moore. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Larimer County Sheriff's Office. Thank you all for being here today as we share this important information with the community about a very historic case. And hopefully you guys will be able to help share this information to a broader audience than we can do on our own. We will have three speakers today. First will be retired Lieutenant Andy Josie with the Larimer County Sheriff's Office. Captain Bob Coleman with the Larimer County Sheriff's Office, who is the Investigations Division Commander. And then we'll wrap up with Sheriff Justin Smith. At the end, we will take some questions, but I want to go ahead and prepare you. We will not answer any questions about new evidence in this case. We will answer questions about historic data and so forth, but we will take questions at the end. Andy?
I'm Andy Josie, J-O-S-E-Y. In 1996, I was the Larimer County Sheriff's Office Investigation Sergeant. I remember the beginning of this case because I was there. On August 24, 1996, the Larimer County Sheriff's Office was called to a report of a possible deceased infant found in Horsetooth Reservoir west of Fort Collins. Sheriff's Patrol deputies and county parks personnel immediately responded to the call. Upon the arrival of responding personnel, the report was confirmed. Horsetooth Reservoir, located just west of Fort Collins, is a popular recreation area known for boating, hiking, and biking. The discovery was made along a rocky shoreline and below the roadway above. The deceased infant was found by two local 11-year-old boys who were waiting in the reservoir that day. Local news media at the time reported the infant was found with the umbilical cord still attached and that a towel was found in the bag with the child. Once the initial responders arrived and confirmed that a deceased infant was found, investigators and evidence technicians responded. A search was commenced on the shore by investigators and in the water by the Larimer County Dive Rescue Team that was summoned to conduct the water search. Potential evidence was collected from the scene, and the deceased newborn girl was turned over to the Larimer County Coroner's Office. The next day, the Coroner's Office examined the baby girl during a post-mortem examination and autopsy to determine how, why, and when she died. She was believed to have died within 3 days. Based on their investigation, they considered her death as a homicide by asphyxia or suffocation. Remarkably, also on August 24th, another deceased and unidentified newborn girl was found in the Arkansas River and Pueblo Reservoir area of Pueblo County, some 170 miles south of Horsetooth Reservoir. With such a coincidence that day, investigators compared their cases and attempted to determine if these deaths were related, which was strongly considered in those first few days. Pueblo authorities named their unidentified baby Hope, and we chose baby Faith as the name to give our unidentified baby girl. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation was enlisted to analyze blood samples to hopefully identify who baby Faith actually was and if she was related to Pueblo's baby Hope. Subsequently, no connection was made between the baby girls and no connection was made to a parent. Sheriff's investigators shared the discovery of baby Faith with Colorado media outlets. Other law enforcement agencies were notified of the case, and any information was requested. Investigators requested help from the public, hoping that someone had helpful information to share. As we worked on the case, media reports and word of mouth spread baby Faith's story locally. It was clear that we were the only known family that baby Faith had at the time, and so we acted as family does. We prepared to remember her and give her a place of rest she deserved. We contacted the First Assembly of God Church of Fort Collins, now known as Timberline Church, and held a memorial for baby Faith on September 3rd. The service was officiated by Pastor Derry Northrup and attended by dozens of area residents, including many employees of the Larimer County Sheriff's Office. Roselawn Cemetery, operated by the city of Fort Collins, and Rieger Funeral Services contributed a memorial headstone and a burial site for Baby Faith. Instead of an unmarked grave, Baby Faith is remembered by her headstone, inscribed, "Baby Faith, God loves you," and dated August 22nd, 1996. You can visit her there yet today. These humble steps provided this little baby girl with a proper memorial and an everlasting identity. As the weeks and months went by, no relevant or helpful new information was obtained. Eventually, with no further information to pursue, the case was suspended in June of 1998. In 2006, we took steps to refresh the death of Baby Faith in the minds and hearts of Coloradans. We shared a new media release to recount the death of Baby Faith, and again asked for help in identifying her and for any information about her family and her death. Unfortunately, no new information was revealed despite this effort. Until recently, we feared we would never know her by any other name, or why she was left alone in the cold waters of Horsetooth Reservoir in August of 1996. A case like this one is not ever forgotten. I remember many details like they happened yesterday, and some details are not so clear today. What I know is this: I came to know a newborn girl who was left by choice, not by chance. I knew then, as I know today, she didn't deserve to be left alone. So like so many others in public service, we served her to the best of our ability. We could only do so much then. Now, science and investigators that care have advanced the cause to identify Baby Faith and to seek what justice we can. I am grateful for those that have picked up the torch and will carry it to cast light upon the darkness that hid the truth of who Baby Faith is. And I recall, in the words of Pastor Derry Northrup, that Baby Faith is very, very valuable.
Thank you, Andy. Now we will hear from Captain Bob Coleman, the Investigations Commander for the Larimer County Sheriff's Office.
Thank you, David. In the spirit of continuing the investigation, on November 19th, 2016, command staff members from both the Larimer County Sheriff's Office and the Pueblo County Sheriff's Office discussed the Baby Faith and Baby Hope cases while attending an unrelated meeting. It was decided that both commanders would ask their respective investigative teams to resubmit any evidence to CBI for any updated analysis they deemed necessary. Ultimately, the resubmission was completed, and the Colorado Bureau of Investigation continued to conduct updated analysis. On July 17, 2019, members of the Colorado Bureau of Investigation provided a briefing to investigators of the Larimer County Sheriff's Office. During this briefing, investigators were told that CBI was confident that Baby Faith and Baby Hope were completely unrelated. In addition, CBI provided Larimer County investigators with information that there were a total of 5 individuals who had a probability of being related to Baby Faith. After researching law enforcement and public databases, 4 out of the original 5 were determined to be most probable to have information to advance the case. 3 of these individuals were residing in Minnesota, and 1 was residing in Maryland. Based on this new information, the Baby Faith case was reopened, and the Larimer County Sheriff's Office dispatched an investigative team to make contact with these individuals. On October 6, 2019, investigators made contact with the 3 individuals in Minnesota. Interviews were conducted, and based on the information received, all 3 individuals were excluded from involvement in the case. 2 investigators continued on to Maryland, where the 4th individual was contacted and interviewed. Based on the information received from this individual, investigators were able to determine that Jennifer Katalinich could also have information pertaining to the Baby Faith case. On October 18, 2019, members of the investigative team made contact with Mrs. Katalinich. Mrs. Katalinich agreed to speak with investigators. After several days of that interview, lead investigator Rita Servine presented her case to the Larimer County District Attorney's Office. On November 1st, 2019, 8th Judicial District Court Judge Susan Blanco issued an arrest warrant for Mrs. Katalinich. On November 5th, 2019, Mrs. Katalinich presented herself to the Larimer County Jail, where she was booked on the following charges: CRS 183102, murder in the first degree, a Class 1 felony; CRS 183103, murder in the second degree, a Class 2 felony. Mrs. Katalinich posted a $25,000 cash bond and has been released. If anyone has any information about this case and hasn't spoken to investigators, please call the Larimer County Sheriff's Office. At this time, the Larimer County Sheriff's Office wishes to express their gratitude to the following law enforcement agencies: the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, in particular forensic scientist April Wood and intelligence analyst Audrey Simpkins; the Minnesota Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, in particular Captain Todd Turpett and his team of investigators; the Maryland Howard County Police Department, in particular Detective Corporal Ryan Gregory. And we also would like to thank local departments who assisted in some logistics for us: the Broomfield Police Department and the Denver Police Department. I would also like to thank retired Lieutenant Andy Josie and all the investigators who originally worked this case, as well as our current team of investigators, criminalists, and evidence folks from our own internal crime lab and our crime analyst for all of their hard work as well. I would also like to express my thanks to the 8th Judicial District Attorney's Office for their guidance and counsel during the phase of this investigation. I would like to end on a personal note. My confidence, faith, and trust in Mr. Riedel, his office, and his staff to bring this case to a just disposition is marrow deep. At the end of the day, regardless of the outcome, when this case is finally adjudicated, Baby Faith will have two things she didn't have on August 4th, 1996. That's a voice and a true identity. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain. Sheriff Justin Smith.
Thank you, David. Good afternoon. My name is Justin Smith, Justin-Smith. I'm the sheriff here in Larimer County, Colorado. 23 years ago, members of the Larimer County Sheriff's Office made a commitment to this child that we named Baby Faith, to someday find her true identity and determine how and why her life was cut so tragically short. For over 2 decades, that burden has rested heavy on those who initiated this investigation, as well as those who have poured over it through the years. This community also grieved at little Baby Faith's death in 1996 and committed to never letting her be forgotten. Today represents a critical step forward in this process, as we recognize today's step brings new grief. There is grief for the family that never knew of Baby Faith's existence, and there surely will be grief from the family of the accused. While we were relieved to answer these critical questions, we recognize that our primary job as investigators is to uncover the facts of Baby Faith's true identity, as well as the facts surrounding her short life and how she died. We have now done that. Now we've turned the case over to the staff at the district attorney's office, and as of today, it begins a process through the judicial system. I want to take this solemn opportunity to remind the public that we remain committed to representing victims of all unsolved homicides and to assure them that we remain steadfast in our commitment to also solve those cases. 4 short years ago, Northern Colorado was shocked by the seemingly random shooting of Miss Corey Romero and the murder of Mr. John Jacoby. To Miss Romero and to the family of Mr. Jacoby, know that we have not forgotten the injury and loss that you have suffered, and we continue to reevaluate those cases as well. To the Northern Colorado community, if you have any information on any unsolved homicides in the county and have not previously come forward, we ask that you do that now. Just like a single lead started us down the path to finding justice for baby Faith, your information may possibly provide that same kind of critical lead to us solving other unsolved homicides. With that, anyone with any such information, we would ask to call Larimer County Dispatch at 970-416-1985 and pass those on. And just to end, I reiterate the commitment and the pride in all the folks here to find those answers, to carry this through, to not only Lieutenant Josie, but everybody that was involved. We've tracked down many of those investigators and shared this very difficult news with them. We also know, again, that there's family in other parts of the country that are grieving and working through this process, and we remain committed to continuing to do our part to do the right things for baby Faith. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. With us here today, we also have Assistant District Attorney Mitch Murray, and of course, our lead investigator on the case now, Rita Servine. So at this time, we will take some questions. Please raise your hand. I'll call on you one at a time. And please keep in mind, as I said earlier, we will not be discussing any of the evidence or any part of the new case, as we need to protect that information as it goes through the judicial system. Yes?
Is Jennifer Babyface's mother?
Again, that's, we're not going to comment on the results of any scientific testing at this time. And that's to preserve that information until that comes out appropriately at a time during the criminal proceedings.
Yes.
Baby Faith was discovered on August 24th, 1996, and reporting at the time said that she could have died within the previous few days. Has her date of death ever been confirmed?
Date of death? Has it? Do you know? Okay. Okay, that would also fall under the new evidence theory that we're talking about, that we certainly don't want to do anything to jeopardize the case at this point. Yes.
Lieutenant Josie, you mentioned that blood tests were done between Baby Faith and Baby Hope. Was that in 1996, right after the discoveries?
Yes, it was.
Will any new tests on them be done? New DNA?
I think at this present time, as we go through the trial process, if the district attorney or the defense wants further testing, that's certainly an option open to them, but at this time, there's no plan to do that from the investigative side.
Sir.
In the end, what made investigator Rita present her case after that conversation?
Well, after we spoke with Jennifer, based on the totality of the circumstances that we had received from information in Minnesota, Maryland, and what information she was able to provide, that's when the case was presented to the district attorney for their review.
Can you say what she was able to provide?
No, I cannot.
Do you mind stepping up to the mic when you answer? Sorry,
Oh,
it'll be
sure.
difficult for our
Sorry.
guests. It's okay.
Any other questions?
Why do you guys remember cases like this from so long ago?
We spend a lot of time investigating these cases, certainly some more than others. But in the case of an unsolved case, off and on for years. We will spend that time. And as a result, it's always refreshed in your mind. And you can't forget a newborn, like in this case. It's just, I still see her. And I still remember the things that we talked about at the time and the things that we did at the time. And it's always there. It will always be there. And that's okay.
What does this mean to you to be at this step, even though you're retired, but to have some resolution in sight?
Well, I'm very, very grateful. I'm grateful for the fact that we continued to care and that this agency continued to care and work on it and didn't let it go, even though some were not here at the time and some were. So very grateful and honored to be a part of this day. This is very helpful for me and people close to me to be able to help conclude this situation after so many years.
When one of you was speaking, you mentioned that you had a funeral where you got to show her gravesite with her name and everything. We had some file video from past stories, but I wanted to make sure I got the date right on when that would have happened.
The
Her
funeral.
funeral.
The memorial service occurred September 3rd, and it was a church service. We didn't have a funeral per se at the gravesite, but eventually she was interred and remains there today.
Do you have any other cases like this still unsolved?
We do. When I first came to the Larimer County Sheriff's Office in 2002, we had approximately 11 to 12 code cases. Since then, we've been able to solve 5 of those. So to Lieutenant Josie's remarks earlier, just because they're code cases, be it 8 years, 10 years, 30 years, whatever the case may be, we continue to examine them. We continue to review them to see if they can be submitted for all the advances in technology that is available to us today. So we will continue to do that. Obviously, there's been a lot of technology advances since 1996. And I would be willing to bet 10 years from now there'll be a lot more. But we try to have our folks involved and even though we're busy with ongoing cases, we never forget those that don't have an answer yet.
So the suspect, just doing the math, was in her late teens, 18, I think, when this would have occurred. Is there something you would say to a young woman in crisis, maybe an unplanned pregnancy, who may be considering some drastic measures?
Well, and there was a lot of talk in the media at the time. If you remember, the safe haven law was passed about 10 years after this unfortunate incident occurred, which allowed for young mothers to drop off babies at fire stations, hospitals, police departments within a 72-hour time, I believe. I'm not exactly sure but the baby had to be dropped off unharmed. However, and having said that, we certainly understand the need for some of those laws, but still in 1996, there were a lot of other things they could do too, like reach out for medical help or reach out for help from family.
Aaron?
Can you explain why Catalinic has been charged with 2 separate charges?
I'll refer that to Mr. Mitch Murray.
Thank you. There are just 2 charges addressing the same issue but under different theories. The first-degree murder charge is knowingly killing someone who is under the age of 12 with whom you're in a position of trust. So that has those as its included elements. The second charge is a second-degree murder, and it just involves the knowing killing of another. And with regard to your comment about what should be said to people that might be out there, I think it's just basically you're not alone. And there's help out there, and there's people to go to. And it may take a lot of bravery to reach out, but that's what people need to do. We'd hope they would.
What's the next step now in this process?
The defendant was in court this morning for her first appearance. The case has been reset back into court in January. I believe it's January 21st. At that point, it's set for a disposition. That's a fairly normal setting. There's no certainty that there is a disposition that will happen or will not happen at that date, but that's what it's set for at this time. She did post her bond, turned in her passport, and so she's released until that date.
Anyone else?
I know that someone already asked about the time of her death, but in some of our reports over the years, we've said that she died within a few hours of her birth, and then one of you mentioned that she could have died within days. Is there a safe space for us to go between those reports from then to now?
No, I believe those were just all estimates from the coroner at the time. There was, as it was reported in the media at that time, there was some slight decomposition that had already started. So they just made their best estimate of what they found at the autopsy and the condition of the body at the time.
And their best estimate was within 3 days?
That was their best estimate.
Okay, guys, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And again, thank you for being here and helping us share this valuable information with the community.